2027 ANC is good for South Africa, good for the African continent, and good for the progressive world. Our movement remains the primary custodian of the democratic transition, the spear and shield of the people, and the strategic center of transformation. The NEC welcomed the positive signs emerging in the economy and noted the improvement in South Africa's sovereign outlook announced by Standards and Poor's, as well as the strengthening of the rand. These developments are a product of the sustained work of the ANC-led government to advance a recovery in the wake of state capture and the devastating impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. The recovery of the key state-owned enterprises is a key outcome of the ANC's Energy Action Plan and Operation Vulindlela, through which the infrastructure of our developmental state is being rebuilt brick by brick. Ending load shedding was correctly identified as the foremost priority of the movement following the 2022 National Conference. The installation of more than 16 gigawatts of new renewable energy generation capacity, representing investment well above 200 billion rand, has placed the country on a different path. The people of South Africa, particularly the working class and the poor, are already benefiting from the restoration of commuter rail corridors that had fallen into despair and vandalism. Millions, once again, bought trains that carry them to work, to school, and to economic opportunities, affirming that public transport is a right, not a privilege, reserved for those who can afford it. When employment figures improve, when borrowing costs fall, when the country is removed from grey listing, and when investor confidence rises, these are achievements of the ANC-led government, anchored in the struggle for economic freedom and justice. On the Madlanga Commission and the ad hoc committee, the National Executive Committee meeting deliberated on the developments in our country and the Commission of Madlanga as it unfolded. The ANC made a serious reflections, as it will do so on an ongoing basis, but will not run running commentary on the Commission itself and the ad hoc committee, both instituted to investigate the public statements made by Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi on the 6th of June 2025. The NEC reiterated its earlier stance that the ANC fully supports the proceedings of both processes and that the organization will await the conclusion of the processes, which will certainly help combat crime in the country. But the NEC emphasized the point that matters that are related to arrest of people must not be delayed, to intervene in terms of addressing the rule of law in our country. Where police and all law enforcement agencies have gathered evidence sufficient to prosecute people, the ANC emphasized the point that those must be undertaken without delay, because the Commission in itself does not delay matters that are before the law and that affect the rule of law in the country. The NEC further resolved that our responses on any action to be undertaken, either by the organization or as a recommendation to the state, must be consummate, credible, and executed with visible urgency. The NEC resolved that government must urgently consider and process key reforms. The same as people must be arrested, but the key reforms that we believe as the ANC must be implemented as the Commission unfolds by our government, and such as the demilitarization of the South African Police Service, this thing of generals, titles and all of that. We must go back to the Constitution, demilitarize the police, and ensure that the police are given their correct accolades, like Commissioner of Police, as it is prescribed in the Constitution of the land. Mandating forensic lifestyle audits for all senior police and prosecutorial leadership, consistent with our policy. But we believe lifestyle audit must start also with the executive, and that the president leading the executive must start ensuring that lifestyle audits apply across in the civil service. But you cannot enforce a lifestyle audit in a department if you are a political leader and yet yourself you have not undergone lifestyle audits. So for us, as the ANC, lifestyle audits start with the president and all cabinet, and at the same time in all the provinces. This must be undertaken. And therefore, this must go to the public service, the police, prosecutorial people, and all of that, and senior police must undergo the lifestyle audits. That is our decision. To address the safety of whistleblowers, the ANC also calls upon government to fast-track the tabling of a dedicated whistleblower protection bill in Parliament. We believe this, working with other political parties in Parliament, at least we agree, we know, with majority of parties in Parliament, we must fast-track the implementation of this bill to protect the whistleblowers. The NEC expressed deep appreciation to our deployees serving on the Parliamentary Ad Hoc Committee tasked with probing these matters. Their work is central to uncovering the full extent of the attempted subversion of law enforcement agencies and safeguarding the constitutional architecture of the democratic state. The ANC also reaffirmed its full confidence in and support for the Special Investigative Unit, the Hawks, crime intelligence reforms, and the evolving Investigating Directorate Against Corruption, whose mandates form a critical part of restoring professional, ethical, and depoliticized law enforcement. Law enforcement by these institutions must be above reproach. They must be above politics, and their integrity in the face of all the challenges that we have must be above reproach. They must not be tainted by an iota of politics. They must prosecute without fear or favor, and they must do so diligently and undermine any intentions of rogueness within the system. And the Madlanga Commission, we believe, is going to assist us as the African National Congress to accelerate government in strengthening the institutions of the state. If the commission was not there, we wouldn't have heard of some of the people implicated in stealing. We're talking extortion. That is happening out there, but there are police officers who are now implicated in the stealing of cables, and yet we have been saying extortion and extortionists, and these people who are dealing with these matters, zamazamas, and then and the extortionists and all of those criminal activities, they must be prosecuted. Now, boom, it is happening right within the state. Other people are actually implicated as the commissions are unfolding, as we are listening, that some of the key police officers are not vetted, and all of that. So you can't enforce the law when you are not fully accomplished in terms of your duties. And therefore, there must be a clean sweep in this country when it comes to law enforcement and the public service. The NEC has reaffirmed its previous decisions on the importance of vetting of candidates for public office, and that any ANC member credibility implicated in the testimony must be considered ineligible for the 2026 candidate list. While this might be painful from an individual point of view, where verdicts may not have been tested in court, but it is essential for the credibility of the ANC and of government. The NEC resolved that the Integrity Commission must actively track the Madlanga and ad hoc committee testimony and make recommendations in line with its mandate and terms of reference. This must be communicated effectively to demonstrate the ANC's commitment to cleansing itself and to the project of renewal. The NEC resolved that the revelations unfolding both in the Madlanga and the Parliamentary Ad hoc Committee must inspire acceleration of the organizational internal renewal and building a state that serves all people as we continue on the national transformation trajectory. The ANC has been fully behind the Madlanga Commission and Ad hoc Committee from their inception. We supported the establishment of this commission to root out criminal figures that betrayed our country and the revolutionary values of our movement, irrespective of their factional orientation or political partisanship. In so doing, we are advancing the organizational renewal mandate that started after the 2022 National Conference, as well as ensuring the integrity and security of our state. So there should be no holy cows when the recommendations come and they point to the direction that some of us have erred in the course of duty. But at the present moment, we support the Commission in doing their work and ensuring that they do so with full confidence, knowing that all South Africans, and we as the majority party in this GNU, we support the efforts of the President and our government to deal with matters that have been raised by Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi. On the GNU, the NEC reflected extensively on the GNU, reaffirming that it remains a necessary instrument for safeguarding South Africa's constitutional order, ensuring political stability, and preventing those with anti-democratic impulses from derailing the democratic project. However, the NEC was equally clear that stability must never come at the expense of transformation. The GNU is not a marketplace where the right authority can be traded, diluted, or negotiated away. It is a contested site of struggle in which the strategic leadership of the ANC is critical. We are encouraged by the recent developments of resetting the button, of ensuring that political parties work together with a clearer understanding that they are not in a melting pot agreeing with each other ideologically and all of that. National interest, cohesion of our country is very much important in the context of the GNU and the statement of intent. And resetting the button means, among others, that we must go back to that statement of intent and what we said and what needs to be done going forward to consolidate this important work. It does not mean that the DA in the GNU will change to become the ANC, or the ANC will change to become the DA in the GNU, or a UDM, or all other political parties, Patriotic Alliance and all of that, they will change and become something else. We are there to serve, and to serve our people. And the ANC will never change in the transformation that we believe in. Even if those who are outside, civil society, like Solidarity and them and AfriForum can put up misleading white supremacist billboards, those things will never stop our march to ensure that this country, South Africa, is fully transformed and equitable for all its citizens, black and white. The ANC will therefore continue to exercise revolutionary vigilance within the GNU, ensuring that no policy drift or anti-transformation agenda is smuggled under the guise of consensus. The NEC emphasized the character of the ANC must reflect the soul of the national democratic revolution, people-centered, developmental, redistributive, and uncompromising on the liberation movement's mandate. The NEC reaffirmed that the national dialogue is one of the most important democratic instruments of our time, an instrument designed to reconnect political leadership with the real daily experiences of communities. In an era where trust in institutions is fragile across the world, the dialogue stands as South Africa's collective commitment to rebuild that trust from the ground up. It is a conscious return to the Freedom Charter principle that the people shall govern, not through periodic election alone, but through ongoing structured engagement that shapes policy, governance, priorities, and social compacts. The national dialogue is therefore not an elite gathering, a boardroom negotiation, or a media spectacle. It is a platform rooted in lived reality, in the stokvel, in the union meeting, the taxi rank, the spaza shop, the church, the classroom, and the community hall. It brings into one arena the voices of workers, civic formations, traditional leaders, small businesses, progressive faith communities, young people, women, people with disabilities, and all those who have historically been spoken about rather than spoken with. Through word-based dialogues, izimbizo, and structured community assemblies, the ANC will mobilize its branches, the leagues, and alliance partners to ensure that the dialogue becomes the heartbeat of a new era of citizen participation, real, ongoing, and measurable. Central to this renewed approach is the role of young people. The NEC emphasized that young people must not be engaged as a demographic category or a political audience, but as equal architects of the next phase of freedom. On the G20, the NEC welcomed the growing stature of South Africa on the global arena, reflected most powerfully in our country's preparations to host the G20 summit. This honor is not accidental. It arises from decades of principled diplomacy, a stable democratic order, and the proven capability of a nation that has successfully hosted global events, from the FIFA World Cup, Rugby World Cup, Netball World Cup, BRICS summits, and major UN gatherings. Each of these moments has reaffirmed that South Africa is not only a destination for world leaders, but also a trusted convener of global consensus. Hosting the G20 carries substantial economic benefits for our country and the continent. In the immediate term, it will stimulate tourism, hospitality, aviation, and business services, generating thousands of jobs and injecting millions of rands into the local economy. Infrastructure upgrades, city revitalization, and improvements in transport logistics, driven by the demand of the summit, will remain long after the delegates have departed. More importantly, the long-term advantages are even greater. As Chair and host of the G20, South Africa will shape global economic discussions on investment flows, industrialization, climate change, debt relief, and trade reforms in ways that directly benefit the African continent. This is an opportunity to advance an African growth agenda, to push for fairer global financial governance, to expand market access for African goods, to strengthen continental manufacturing value chains, and to secure greater development finance for energy, transport, water, and digital infrastructure. Our presidency of G20 is a significant moment to bridge the developmental divide between the global north and global south, to champion equity, sustainability, and shared prosperity. In this G20 moment, South Africa carries not only its national mandate, but the hopes of a continent that seeks a more just and balanced global order. Hosting the G20 is therefore both an honor and a opportunity to elevate Africa's priorities, deepen South-to-South cooperation, and demonstrate once again that Africa is not merely participating in global affairs, it is shaping them. On the Integrity Committee, the NEC reiterated with absolute clarity that the Integrity Commission of the ANC remains central to restoring and safeguarding public confidence in the African National Congress. As a movement that draws its legitimacy from the trust of the people, we recognize that ethical leadership is not optional. It is foundational to who we are and what we represent. To deepen this commitment, a joint workshop between the NEC and the Integrity Commission will be convened. Its purpose is to strengthen coordination and ensure that the Commission's work is fully integrated into the life of the organization. This engagement is not a procedural exercise. It is a deliberate step to embed the highest standards of accountability at every level of leadership. On the Electoral Committee, the NEC approved the rules and guidelines for the 2026 candidate selection process and mandated the Electoral Committee to communicate this to all members and supporters of the ANC as well as the public, of which yesterday this happened. The NEC reviewed these rules and guidelines in its quest for the rebuilding, strengthening, and renewal of the ANC. On provincial and regional conferences, the NEC received a detailed organizational report on the state of readiness and progress for provincial and regional conferences. The NEC reaffirmed that all due provincial and regional conferences must be concluded by March 2026. This decision is a strategic imperative to ensure that the ANC enters the 2026 local government elections with constitutionally mandated leadership structures. This timeline is central to the renewal agenda, allowing the movement to shift its full organizational strength towards building a disciplined and election-ready machinery. In Limpopo and Mpumalanga, all regional conferences have been successfully concluded, enabling the provinces to proceed firmly towards their provincial conferences. Gauteng is currently convening regional conferences across Johannesburg, Tshwane, and Sidibeng, and the provincial conference will sit once these are concluded. The Eastern Cape is moving through its remaining regional conferences. The Northwest is proceeding with BPGMs and finalizing regional conference preparations, with completion also scheduled before December 2025. No province or region will be permitted to sit beyond March 2026 deadline. On the Limpopo task team report, the NEC received the Limpopo task team report and noted the work of the task team as a useful guide in healing ruptures among ANC members and within structures as a result of conferences. The NEC adopted the recommendations of the task team to strengthen the conference processes and guidelines moving forward. The NEC further referred those who were involved in undermining organizational processes to be subjected to disciplinary action. So the matter of Limpopo and the conference is closed and done with. So the task team was not a commission. It was a task team to go to Limpopo and listen to structures of the organization and engage with them on the issues that they would have raised in relation to the outcome of the conferences. And the task team has done that, and we have congratulated the task team led by Mamno Polo and so on. We have briefed the comrades of Limpopo about the outcomes since the NWC was mandated to process the task team's recommendations. Where there are issues, those matters have been referred to the conflict resolution modalities of the ANC, which is the NDRCA, to process matters that relate to the Peter Mokaba regional conference. But all the issues raised arising from the report are integrated in our renewal work and building organization. Now we're looking forward to all structures in Limpopo to be integrated, and then the regional structures to continue to do their work as expected by the organization. Limpopo is one of our biggest contributors to the victory of the ANC, and we expect nothing less than that going forward. On the General Council, in the coming months, the ANC will convene its 5th National General Council from the 8th to 11th of December 2025 at the Birchwood Hotel and Conference Center, a gathering that will stand as one of the most consequential moments for our movement in the current political epoch. It will serve as a strategic platform to rebuild trust with our people by reaffirming our historic mission to be the most effective and reliable instrument for the transformation of society. It is at this council that the ANC must confront with honesty and revolutionary clarity the structural challenges facing our communities, from unemployment and crime to service delivery failures, and provide decisive interventions anchored in the Freedom Charter, the Constitution, and our modern renewal agenda. The NEC received and endorsed the report on preparations for the National General Council, confirming that delegate allocation is based on membership in good standing as of the 30th September 2025. And the majority of delegates, 1,600 delegates at this General Council, will come from the branches of the ANC. Majority of delegates to this General Council will come from the branches, complemented by leadership structures, regions, provinces, and the National Executive Committee as the convener of the General Council. More importantly, the NGC will ignite a national sense of possibility, demonstrating to South Africans that the ANC remains the leader of society, capable of renewing itself, confronting national challenges head-on, and defending the hard-won gains of our freedom. And the green shoots of this, we see them in our economy. If you talk about the rating agencies, the interventions that have been made, the grey listing of South Africa, this country is full of possibilities going forward. And this is hard work that has been done against the challenges of COVID-19, the challenges of July unrest that we've come across, the challenges of global economic recession that has come to affect us with the war between Russia and Ukraine, that have affected us and ensure that in terms of our economy, we come to witness what is called a high cost of living in our economy. And as we move forward, and also with the MTPPS, we have seen the commitment of our government to ensure that we deal with this matter of the cost of living that affects our people in South Africa. The Umkhonto weSizwe Military War Veterans Conference will now take place in January 2025 in Johannesburg. The ANC Youth League will also convene a national congress in Limpopo from the 14th to 17th December 2025 in Polokwane, Limpopo province. We have been mandated by the NEC to work closely with the Youth League on their decision to convene an early congress for reasons that they were advanced in the National General Council of the Youth League in Kimberley. They took that particular decision, and that conference will now sit from 14 to 17 December 2025. The National Way Committee received a report on the vacancies created, and Comrade Toko Titiza and Comrade Kusela Sangoni were elected through a secret ballot to form part of the National Working Committee of the ANC to replace the late Comrade Tina Jumat, who was a member of the Working Committee, and Comrade Peggy Nkonyeni, because of ill health, was also replaced in the NWC. So those were the two vacancies that we're filling. In conclusion, we call on South Africans to unite behind the shared mission of building a country grounded in equality. The ANC recommits itself to leading this next phase with humility, integrity, and revolutionary discipline. As we approach the 114th anniversary of the ANC and the 2026 local government elections, the movement does so with renewed determination and clarity of purpose. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, SG. That was our NEC statement following the ordinary meeting of the National